Welcome to Perry's Victory and International Peace Memorial to our virtual Perry Education Days. If you haven't already seen them, yesterday we had a musket demonstration, a talk on uniforms, and a talk on the carronade. Today, before this, we had the medical. Now that it's lunchtime, what better demonstration than to have a cooking demonstration? Why cooking at a site that remembers a naval battle? Well, what's the most important thing for armies and navies? Besides having ammunition and guns, you need food. You don't have food, you don't have soldiers to go fight. No need for the musket balls or the guns or the carronades or cannons. Without food, you have nothing. So, what did men eat during the War of 1812? For the U.S., daily ration per soldier, you're looking at about 18 ounces of bread. How are they getting their bread? Well, it could be literally a bread. It could be more known as something that by the time of the Civil War it's called hardtack, so a hard cracker like bread. Or they maybe just issued straight flour for their meal. And they'd have to cook it however they wanted to. What is 18 ounces? That's about 2 1/4 cups of flour. Right here. Modern container to keep it clean while we're out here. Next on your list of things soldiers would get to eat, 20 ounces of beef. Depending on how it was, this could be salted beef, salted pork, or it may be armies out here traveling in Northwest Ohio would have had full herds of cattle or pigs driven with them. And then as they needed, they'd slaughter it and serve it. And then the final thing, daily ration. 1 gill of whiskey. What's a gill? You're looking at just under half a cup of whiskey a day. And that was your daily rations for the U.S. Now, you'd get some other things like salt, candles, stuff like that, but that was per 50 rations or something, or like once a month you'd get these other items. How does this compare to other armies? Well, the British, they're getting 24 ounces, 3 cups of flour a day. Their beef, on the other hand, they're about 16 ounces, so about a pound of beef, or 8 ounces of pork. So, U.S. Army, we're giving you more meat, a little less bread. For the British, you're getting a gill, again, about just under half a cup of peas. You're also getting 1 ounce of butter or cheese a day, and 1 ounce of rice. So, a lot more rounded diet. Notice, overall, both of them are lacking on fruit. U.S. is completely missing fruit and vegetables in our rations. They looked at it as the U.S. Army looked sutlers, traveling, basically salesmen that followed the Army could supply those needs. Or, if you're in an area where there are farmers, you could buy stuff from the farmers. Fresh stuff, eggs, milk, cheese, stuff like that. Now, if you were stationed at a garrison post like Fort Meigs during the War of 1812, we know those men had gardens. So they could go out, garden, have vegetables to add to their supplement, their meat and bread ration. They're also on a river. Initially, when they first got there, they could go fishing, catch fish. They talk about going fishing in journals there. You could have men go out for hunting parties. But the longer the Army is in a location, the harder it is to hunt in that area. You have to go out further. Because having a large body of men in one place is naturally going to scare the wildlife away. Now, each man was not just given, here's your flour, here's your beef. They were grouped together in 6-man messes. So 6 men would get together, cook their food together over a fire. And as that, you'd get 7.5 pounds of beef for those 6 men. So a mess of men is 6 men that get together and cook over a fire together. They'd have some cooking equipment. In theory, there are men marching that their new regiments later in the war were out on the frontier that they do not have even the cooking stuff. So how did they cook their food? Well, if they were able to have a nicer pot, they were at a fort, they could have some veggies, they could throw in a pot with this meat, they could have a nice stew. Sounds pretty good. Now, if you're on the march, and you're marching day after day, maybe you're not lucky enough to have a pot. How are you going to cook your food? Well, some of the men just basically took sticks and cooked their meat over an open fire. Eat what they could that night, save a little, pack it up for the next day for breakfast or to snack on while they're on the march. How are they going to cook their bread? Couple ways. They could just ball it up and throw it in the fire. This gets known as ash cakes because you're cooking in the ash. Or they'd take sticks and wrap bread dough around the sticks and then roast it over the fire. Again, eating probably most of it and then saving a little for the next morning. Once they got on the march, they'd have something to snack on. So what does that equate to today? Well, I did a little research, and 18 ounces of flour, or 18 ounces of bread, I should say, is a little less than a modern-day loaf of bread. You're looking at about 22 ounces for a loaf of bread, so a little less than that. What is 20 ounces of beef? That's a pound and a quarter. Well, if you have a full pack of hot dogs, you're looking at 12 ounces. So you'd almost need 2 packs of hot dogs and a loaf of bread to equal what men ate. And guess what? That is what you had every day. Unless, of course, you're lucky enough, you could maybe make a stew. But if you're on the march, simplicity is the way things go. So, since it is lunchtime, you guys are probably home watching this. Figured, let's do something that's easy for you to do. I have a fire going. I'll have a junior ranger come out here and help cook my bread, and that's the reason I have hot dogs out here. You do this over an open fire. If you have a grill, of course, either way, hopefully you have mom or dad with you to help out. Don't do this alone without help. Pretty obvious. To make the bread, take your flour, take some water, mix it up. Get your hands in there, mix it up a little too. Make sure you wash your hands first. And they just roll the dough around and wrap it around a stick. I'm using hot dog cooker today. Or if you're daring, they would have just thrown it in, try to find a clean spot, as clean a spot as you can, and throw it in the fire. And just cook it like ash cakes. My junior ranger want to come over and cook this over a fire? Okay, my junior rangers are cooking and about ready to lose the bread. Hopefully you have better luck at home. Looks like we have ash cakes now to go with our hot dogs. Again, hopefully you have better success. Again, thank you for coming to our virtual Perry Education Days, especially our cooking demonstration just now. Hopefully your cooking at home goes a lot better than ours. Our mess of men is having hot dogs tonight. Our bread ration is laying in the fire, becoming ash cakes. If you haven't checked out our website to see the rest of the schedule for virtual Perry Education Days, I encourage you to head over. There'll be a link in the comments below how to get there. Still have a tour of the monument, a walk with the builder, a tour of the visitor center still to come this week. Check out what else we've done this week. Hope to see you at some point visiting the memorial. Thank you for using your national parks.